Hello and good afternoon. My name is Bekah and I'm here with a midweek connection video for Foothills Christian Church. An opportunity to check in with you and to also share some things happening in the life of our church. So if you are here, I'd love to hear from you. Say hello, ask any questions you might have, connect with me, and if not live, then later and I'll come back and review the comments. Lee, I see that you're watching, so hello to you and hope you're doing well and recovering well. Having a good day today. So some things to lift up first I want to tell you about is this past Sunday was Week of Compassion Week Sunday, and we're still collecting that special offering. So if you didn't get a chance to give a gift for that, know that you still can. And I'll put a link for that and how you can do it, but you can do it through all of our regular ways of giving, but just designated as Week of Compassion. Week of Compassion is the special offering of our general church that all churches around the country and Canada collect to go towards disaster relief, refugee assistance, and development work around the world. So right now, the Week of Compassion dollars are being spent to help meet needs from the Texas storms, as in other places as well. Also this past Sunday, we had a congregational meeting where we officially extended a call to Janelle Fairchild to recognize her as our associate pastor, and she will be commissioned by our regional pastor minister will be joining us in a couple of weeks on March 7th for worship to do a commissioning as part of our worship service. Janelle is also under care for the region as she pursues ordination and anticipates hopefully being ordained later this year. So I'm grateful to officially call Janelle our associate pastor. Many of you are already very familiar with Janelle and have become to know her and how she has already been serving our church. Previously through her apprenticeship program and then in the meantime between now and then. And let's see what else. This Sunday, we are going to have our book discussion on the Bible Unwrapped, and we will be joined by the author of that book, Megan Larissa Good. So if you haven't yet already, there's still time. You can grab that book, read it, and then join us on Sunday evening for that discussion with the author. I'm looking forward to it. Also, this Sunday begins our auction. Will go live for our Dig Deep fundraiser, where we're raising money to provide water access for a family in Navajo Nation. Thank you for all the donations that came in for that, and I'm looking forward to seeing that launch. And you'll get all the information for that on Sunday, and it will run for 4 weeks long. And also coming up, Tina, our music ministry leader, has put a call out to children and youth to help with some special Easter music. So if you have a youth or child, or you yourself are a youth or child and would like to help with this, I'm going to leave Tina's email in the description for this video where you can contact her and she will send you all the information you need, the song, the music. So whether you sing or can play ukulele or guitar or whatever, we're going to work it all together and do it in a distance way, but to provide some special music for Easter Sunday. I have been working with some people in our church on a sabbatical committee because I am very grateful that when I was called to Foothills back in 2015, my contract was given with the opportunity to take a sabbatical after 6 years of service. So I have just completed 6 years here at Foothills, and I'm looking forward to a sabbatical this summer where I'll be going for 3 months. I'll be gone, so May, June, and July. And I wanted to go ahead and start letting you know about it now so that it didn't come so unexpectedly this summer. But I know the church is in great hands. We have a sabbatical committee that's working to provide the coverage during that time. Janelle, who is now our associate pastor, is going to be stepping up in a lot of ways to help with some of the coverage pieces, as are many of our retired pastors, and also Zaid, who is our resident seminarian. But I'll be glad to share more details with you as we get closer to the summer, but wanted to go ahead and start to tell you about it so that you're made aware. It's been a practice in more recent years for churches to provide that as part of their package to pastors, and I'm very grateful that Foothills decided to do that when I was first called here. And I can't believe it's already been 6 years. It's hard to believe that but I'm looking forward to even more years and beyond with you. So as part of our Lent series, we are just hit a week ago Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, so we're a week into Lent, and we are doubling down on this theme, Dig Deep, not only with our fundraiser for the Dig Deep outreach project, but also through Lenten devotionals. Hopefully you've seen 2 of them so far come out, but we have more planned, and you'll see one today in the weekly email that gets sent out. But also in our scriptures that we're going to be focusing in worship, we're studying stories in the Bible that involve wells or stories about water and thirst. And this all started because of our connection to the Dig Deep fundraiser when we started to hear about the need for water in Navajo Nation, but also out of an interest to build and foster more relationships with indigenous communities here in Arizona, especially given that we live in a state with such a rich history and also present community. And so we want this outreach project to not just be a one-time thing that we do when we're done with, but instead really foster a relationship. And so thanks to June Donka, who is our property chair, she connected through Dig Deep, which partners with Navajo Nation, and asked to find out more and to kind of find out how we might be able to develop more of a relationship and where we could go from there. And so Dig Deep connected us to the Dilkon Chapter, which is one of the 110 chapters in Navajo Nation. In studying Navajo Nation recently, I've come to learn that the landmass of Navajo Nation, which is which overlaps Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, that as a whole, the whole landmass is larger than the 5 smallest states, and in fact, about the same size if you were to add all the 3 smallest states together. Altogether, Navajo Nation is just a little smaller than the state of South Carolina, if that helps give you an image. And then Dilkon Chapter, here is a map, and it's probably too small for you to read it, but in the turquoise area, the bottom area, on the very bottom, the area that the chapter that's on the furthest left of the turquoise, that's the Dilkon Chapter, and that's who we've been connected to through Dig Deep to partner with for this fundraiser. But additionally, we've been introduced to the chapter manager of the Dilkon Chapter of Navajo Nation, and her name is Margie Barton, and it's from her that we have learned even more needs that their community has, including earlier you heard us share about the need for help with things you might need in cold weather, like coats and blankets and boots. And so we collected those items. We've also collected, we were able to make a gift towards firewood for heating the homes of some of the families. So thanks for the generous donations that have come in to help make that possible. But Margie and her husband have made now a couple of trips to Foothills to pick up the donations. And also, we've been in conversation about how we can cultivate a deeper relationship with one another, their community and our community. So this past week, when Margie came, she sat down with me, and I was able to share an interview with her where I was able to ask her some more questions. And what I'm going to do is I've edited that, I've spliced it up into different certain sections so that in these weekly update Facebook times with you, I can share a section of them. So here is about a 5-minute clip of our interview time together, and it's an introduction about where Margie shares about who she is, her work as a chapter manager, and then in the coming weeks, I'll be sharing more clips with you about other facets of what typical life is like in their community, or areas of concern or value, and in order to help us develop more of a relationship with one another. So here's the first installment of my conversation with Margie Barton.
Okay, my name is Margie Barton. I'm the chapter manager for Dilkon Chapter. I started as a chapter manager back in 2016, latter part, October 2016. And prior to that, my husband and I did a lot of general contracting work. And he still continues to do that with our daughter now, because she's pretty much taking over the company. And I was supposed to be retired. And I was only going to do this to help the chapter for a few months, because they were having such a hard time, and they couldn't find anybody to fill the position. So they asked me to help them out, and I said, sure, I'll help you out for a few months. Well, it's going on years now.
Yeah, several years. And have you always lived in the Dilkon Chapter area?
No, originally from a little community called Whitecomb.
Okay.
And I didn't really grow up there. I just know that it was the community that my mother belonged to. And what happened is, back in the early years, my parents were sent off to California to participate in a program called the Relocation Program. So they assigned my dad to a job in Los Angeles, and then we sort of moved around, and I guess we were living right by what is that place in California where you want to go to take your kids?
Oh, like Disney?
Disneyland. Yeah. I guess we lived there for several years,
okay.
and I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just down the street from Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
But then we came back. We moved back to Arizona, and my dad settled us in Shoalo, Arizona. So that's where I pretty much lived for a long time. So I didn't live on the reservation until now, after I married my husband.
Oh, okay. And so is he from that part of the reservation?
Yes, that's his community.
Oh, okay, that's his community.
He was born and raised there.
Yeah. And so, with your role, is it chapter manager?
Yes.
What all does a chapter manager responsible for?
Well, I didn't know what I got myself into until the work started, and the problems that the chapter was having was mostly financial work. They expect the chapter manager to do accounting alongside, leadership, items, and I really did not have any accounting background. So the first thing I did was I hired somebody. I hired an accountant to help me with the accounting work. Then I hired a few people to help me with the filing system, because that was also a mess. And being a entrepreneur for many years, my husband and I started our business back in 2005. So I'm familiar with all the
bookkeeping and
all the taxes, all the payments that have to be made. I was familiar with all that, so that was my expertise. So I started filing and everything, keeping everything in order, and showing others how to go about doing this and that, and come to find out, they hadn't been paying their taxes for a long time, so I had to get a lot of that up to date, and it was a lot of work, and I was so proud when I was told that 2000, I believe it was 2019, we were doing everything with flying colors. It was really good to find out that our chapter was up to par on everything. So since then, we began to search for help in terms of projects that that were just sitting there forever. Just like the Justice Center, we don't even have a police department anymore at Dilkon, and we have a lot of crimes going on, and we have 3 housing that are not too far from the chapter. So during the summer, we deal with a lot of what is it called? A lot of crimes, and they destroy our property. Do graffiti, all
The
kinds of stuff.
vandalism.
Yes, So we deal a lot with that, and so now I'm putting the request back to the housing developers who put those houses there with nothing. I mean, if you're going to put a housing there, you would think that you'd have at least a community building, maybe a playground, some kind of resources, exactly. But they just put the houses down. They brought everybody from different parts of the reservation and dropped them all there. And so we don't have any way of providing a lot of social services of that sort. Any type of training or help for them. And then to make matters worse, we have a chapter house that's, oh gosh, it's as old as me. And I remember the birthday, that's my same thing, that's my birthday. So it's an old chapter house, and the facilities are worn, and we have to repair those. So we were allowing people to use that to have parties and meetings and stuff, but we can't anymore because it's not up to par, and we have to fix those. So they really have nothing now, nothing to really use. So that's another big issue that we've been working on. But like I said earlier, I submitted a request to the Navajo Housing Authority, who developed those facilities and homes without any services to the people. So I completed a big proposal to them to tell them that, in your next application, these are the things we want you to add. Like a community building, a playground, some type of trails, hiking area, and to make it to where the people can at least enjoy something outside, because they've been locked up in their house all this time.
Right. So I want to thank Margie for her tremendous efforts, and grateful for her sharing her story with us, and look forward to ways that we can continue to partner with her to follow her lead in the work that she is doing in her community. And so there are going to be several of these over the next several weeks. But when I was listening to Margie's story, I found myself later wanting to kind of learn more, and I noticed something when she was sharing about her story, that her husband's family is originally from the Dilkon area, which is one of the 110 chapters of the Navajo Nation, and the chapters are the most local form of government, and so similar to maybe what we would think of as a municipality. Her mother's side is from another part of the Navajo Nation, but the Dilkon chapter is just north of Winslow, to help give you an idea where it is. But in listening to her share her story, I heard her mention that her father from the relocation program was assigned to Los Angeles. And so it had me, after my interview with her, to go back and do some research and learn some more history. And maybe I learned about this at school, but I had forgotten and wasn't as familiar with the dates and the different historical timeline. But in 1953, during the Truman administration, there was the Termination Act, which was a change in course from what had previously been. And the U.S. Congress established new policies that eliminated previous government support to tribes, as well as the protected status that tribal land had. And it decimated, in a lot of ways, Native American communities. And then 3 years later, in 1956, came the relocation program. And so it was set up as a way to assimilate Native Americans to leave their reservations and traditional lands and to instead move to urban areas. And the program was that they would be helped by given giving moving expenses and also some vocational training. But all of those promises weren't met, and so sometimes families were relocated and then weren't given all the support that they were promised. But looking back, this relocation program had a lot of long-term effects to Native communities, including from between the 1950s and the 1980s, 750,000 Native Americans migrated to cities. And with that movement, Native Americans became isolated from their communities and faced racial discrimination and segregation in their new homes. And so hearing part of Margie's story helped me put a face and a family to historical things that have happened in the past. And I am looking forward for you to join me as we continue to learn more about the community and the Dilkon Chapter and ways our congregation can partner with the work that Margie is doing and leading in her community. So thank you for your time today. Please be in touch and join us for worship. This Sunday is the last Sunday in February. It's also the last day of February, but it's the last Sunday where worship will be at 11 a.m. And starting in March, we are going to move back to our 10 o'clock time. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and look forward to connecting with you again.